Now today we will start with section 375 of the IPC. It defines rape. So the first thing that you should know is the law is not gender neutral. Alright, only a man can commit rape. So it would become important later when we will try and understand that whether a woman can also be punished as an abettor for rape or not. So first thing that you should need to know is that the law only punishes the man for committing rape. All right, so only a man can commit rape if he, after 2013, the definition of rape has gone under a radical change. So first is penetrates his penis to any extent into vagina, mouth, urethra, or anus of a woman, or makes her do so with him or any other person. This clause or any other person is very important. You should lay emphasis on it because earlier the position was in context of the accused individual itself. But after the amendment now, it doesn't matter that how are the provisions of clause A are being satisfied. Either they are accused centric or they are being satisfied in context of someone else. All that matters is that the accused person makes the woman do the things that are enumerated in 375 clause A, either with him or any other person. Alright, that is the first thing that you should keep in mind. Now clause B says inserts to any extent any object or part of the body not being the penis into the vagina, the urethra, or the anus of woman, or makes her do so with him or any other person. Now here the important thing is any object. Mark the word any object. So now, due to this insertion of any object into the orifices that are just mentioned in 375 clause B are also made punishable and are also under the category of rape. This position didn't existed before 2013. So you need to lay emphasis on the word any object, and the position is same. Either the accused makes her do so with him or any other person. Alright. Then we come to the third part, and that is manipulates any part of the body of a woman so as to cause penetration into the orifices that are just mentioned, or any part of the body of such woman, or makes her do so with him or any other person. Alright, the orifices that I just mentioned, I have reiterated twice, so I don't think I need to say it again and again. Then we come to 375 clause D. It says applies his mouth to the orifices and makes her do so with him or any other person. Now let me give you an illustration. I think you people are bright enough to understand that what does it mean in context to an accused. Now let me give you an illustration where you understand it in the context of this any other person. Now let us suppose there is this accused A, alright, and he puts a woman at a gunpoint and says that let C enjoy your orifices, and C accordingly does that. Now woman is under the fear of an injury, so all in all this constitutes rape. Now before 2013 this would have not constituted rape because penetration was essential in order to constitute rape. But after 2013 this act itself is made punishable, and it falls within the four contours of section 375. Under which clause? Under clause D. An extreme illustration would be if a man forcefully makes a woman insert any object into the orifices that are mentioned, or manipulates the part of her body so as to penetrate into those inside those orifices. Even in that scenario, that would be constitute as rape. Alright, so a good illustration of this can be that let us suppose a man puts a woman at a gunpoint and then says that he gives her an object which is specially meant for sexual pleasure, and then on gunpoint makes the woman masturbate in front of her by inserting that object which is meant for sexual pleasure into the orifices that are just mentioned. And if he does that on gunpoint, then he's putting the woman in the fear of injury. Alright, then what clauses does it satisfy? It satisfies clause B, that inserts to any extent any object or a part of the body not being the penis into the orifices that are mentioned in clause B of section 375. When you look at the definition deep enough, then you would realize that forcefully making a woman masturbate under a fear of injury without her consent against her will, etc., if it should fall within the first, secondly, thirdly, or fourthly, or fifthly clause as is laid down, or sixthly clause, or sixthly or seventhly clause under section 375. So forcefully making a woman masturbate can also constitute the definition of rape if we focus upon part B and part C respectively, because that would satisfy the criteria of rape. Similarly, now oral sex is also covered within the definition of rape. Earlier it was not. Now that is covered under clause D. What it does is, it doesn't matter if the accused indulges in oral sex or he makes her to do so with any other person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the accused has put her in the fear of injury, I'm taking an illustration, in fear of injury in context to himself, that he wants oral sex for himself, or he wants to make women have oral sex with someone else. Even that would constitute rape under section 375. So, to sum up, 375 clause A is the classical view, that the penetration of penis into the orifices, that is the classical view. Either he makes her do so, the accused person makes her do so with him or any other person. And clause B, C, D are new, modern definitions. B says, B is in relation to a particular object. Now the same thing is there as well. It requires insertion. C is manipulation of any part of the body as to penetrate into the orifices. Alright, the orifices is a all-encompassing term in relation to vagina, urethra, anus. Alright. Then clause D is applies his mouth to the orifices, and that is what? That is in the definition of oral sex, oral stimulation, oral sexual stimulation. So all in all, we can see that the law has undergone a radical change. Alright. And what is most radical part about it, that it is not accused centric anymore. It means that even if the accused person makes the woman do such sexual acts as are laid down from clause A to clause D with any other person, even then it would constitute rape. Alright, so you mark these words, and I hope that you have understood. Then we read further. Under the circumstances falling under any other following descriptions. Of course, merely doing this is not enough. It has to satisfy the 7 clauses that are laid down. So, first, these acts A to D are either against his will, either against her will. Secondly, without her consent. Thirdly, with her consent, when her consent has been obtained by putting her or any person in whom she is interested. Let us suppose there is a married woman and the accused person actually, let us suppose, threatens the child of the married woman with death. Then in that situation, if he obtains the consent of the woman to do any of these enumerated acts from clause A to clause D, then what will it be called? This is in a very loose way her consent, but the law will not treat it as consent, because any consent given under a misconception of fact or under fear of injury is not regarded as consent under law at all. So second clause is with her consent, when her consent has been obtained by putting her or any person in whom she is interested in fear of death or of hurt. Fourth clause, with her consent, when the man knows that he is not her husband and that her consent is given because she believes that he is another man to whom she is or believes herself to be lawfully married. Fifthly is when her consent, when at the time of giving such consent, by reason of unsoundness of mind or intoxication or administration by him personally or through another any stupefying, unwholesome substance, then she is unable to understand the nature or the consequence of that which she gives consent. अब फिफ्थ क्लॉज किस बारे में? फिफ्थ क्लॉज बेसिकली इस चीज़ के बारे में है जहाँ पे somebody let us suppose put some intoxicating substance in the drink of the woman and then he commits such vile acts upon her person. In that situation, that would be considered as rape, because if she is so deep in such intoxication, if she is so deep in intoxication that she is unable to understand the nature and consequence as to that which she gives consent, then that would amount to no consent and it would amount to rape. You should know that this definition has been created to cover within its scope date rape drugs. So that is GHB. I am giving you an illustration of common types of date rape drugs. GHB, that is gamma hydroxybutyric acid. Then there is rohypnol. Then there is ketamine. Then there is alcohol. These are some of the most commonly used date rape drugs. I must also give you an illustration relating to fourth clause as well. Fourth clause is only confined to those matters where, let us suppose, the woman is actually believing that she is lawfully married to the husband. The husband knows that the woman has not lawfully married her. In that situation, the consent stands vitiated because the woman is under a misconception of fact. What is a misconception of fact in this scenario? In this scenario, the misconception of fact is that the woman is under an apprehension that she is lawfully married to the man. But in reality, the real situation is that she is not lawfully married to the man. Then in that situation, the law properly treats such consent as no consent because it is given under misconception of fact. After finishing 375, we'll read section 19 in order to grasp the full scope of section and consent as well. Sixthly, with or without her consent when she is under 18 years of age. This is called statutory rape. When a woman or a girl child is below the age of 18 years and sexual intercourse is committed even with her consent, then notwithstanding anything, the man would be guilty of rape and rape alone. So here the consent does not matter. If the woman is under the age of 18 years, then it does not matter that whether she has given consent or whether she has not given consent. That would be called rape, stricto sensu. In strict sense. Stricto sensu means in strict sense. Seventhly, when she is unable to communicate consent. Now explanation 1 says, for the purpose of this section, vagina shall also include labia majora. Explanation 2, consent means an unequivocal voluntary agreement when the woman, by words, gestures or form of verbal or non-verbal communication, communicates willingness to participate in specific sexual act, provided that a woman who does not physically resist to the act of penetration shall not, by the reason of that fact, be regarded as consenting to the sexual activity. Now, explanation 2 is very important. You should emphasize on it a lot. Here, consent is defined as unequivocal, matlab ekdam clear, express, voluntary agreement that the woman signifies either by words, by gestures, or by any form of verbal or non-verbal communication, or communicates willingness to participate in specific sexual act. You should I think memorize this part, because it is very important that you write it in exam. Then proviso says that a woman who does not physically resist to the act of penetration shall not, by the reason of that fact, be regarded as consenting to the sexual activity. So देखिए मेयर, ये तो लॉ की जो पोजीशन थी पहले भी थी. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कई जजमेंट्स थे इस पॉइंट पे कि merely because the woman is not physically resisting the act of rape, or merely because the woman has not resisted the act of rape, and merely because there is absence of injury on the body of the woman, by which an inference can be made that the woman did not resist the act of rape, then in that situation it cannot be said that the woman has consented to the sexual activity. Alright, mere act of non-resisting cannot be construed as consent. That was the position earlier also. Now the legislature has given in the proviso expressly. Exception number 1 says medical procedure or intervention shall not constitute rape. Now let me tell you on this point right now that there used to be a 2-finger test. Alright, that has been struck down by the Supreme Court first and also by the High Court. The 2-finger test is no more the law of the land. Earlier it was used to determine the virginity or the intactness of the hymen, but turns out after modern science, because this was Victorian prudery, because in Victorian era what doctors used to assume that a virgin would have a hymen intact, but the women who play sports also can rupture their hymen. Now medical science has progressed far and wide, and 2-finger theory is no longer relevant. Another point that was against this 2-finger theory was that woman was subject to such form of trauma again, this time by doctor. It is sexually intruding in her privacy, and no matter what way you look at it, in actuality it is that only. So remember that 2-finger test has been struck down, and it is no more the law of the land, as the 2-finger test is regarded as intrusion into the privacy of women. Now exception 2, sexual intercourse or sexual acts by a man with his own wife, the wife not being under 15 years of age, is not rape. Now this section has been modified, this exception has been modified by the judgment of Supreme Court in Independent Thought versus Union of India. In Independent Thought versus Union of India, Supreme Court actually found the exception 2 in conflict with the POXCO Act, and also found exception 2 in conflict with Article 14, 15 and Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Supreme Court actually what it did was read down the provision. So what does the read down provision is read as? Supreme Court has actually said that you need to read 15 years as 18 years. After reading down, Supreme Court categorically mentioned in Independent Thought versus Union of India, it was decided on 11th October 2017, that sexual intercourse or sexual acts by the man with his own wife, the wife not being under 18 years of age, is not rape. Alright, so 15 years is now made 18 years by the judgment of Independent Thought versus Union of India, and Supreme Court also clarified that the judgment will have a prospective effect, it will not have a retrospective effect. And also Supreme Court found that exception number 2 to section 375 is arbitrary, capricious, whimsical and violative of the right of girl child, and not at all fair, just and reasonable. Therefore, it is violative of Article 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution of India. Secondly, it is discriminatory and violative of uh, POXCO Act also, because there is uncertainty in law. Why is Supreme Court saying that it is violative of Article 14? Supreme Court is saying, let us suppose the woman was not married. Then, if a man commits sexual intercourse with a child, then in that situation, 375 definitions would be fulfilled. Similarly, the man would be liable for punishment of rape under 376 as well, and under POXCO Act as well. But now, merely because of the fact that a girl child has married, her rights under POXCO Act stand trampled. In this situation, Supreme Court never found that the parameters of Article 14 are being satisfied. There should be a reasonable classification and rational nexus with the objects ought to be achieved. Supreme Court never found that. Supreme Court rather found the exception to be arbitrary. So, very correctly it said that the exception, rather than reading 15 years, exception number 2, it should read 18 years. Alright. So, I want you to remember the parameters of section 375 from the Bare Act itself. It is very, very important. Now, let me tell you a very interesting thing that you always need to quote in an exam. It was the judgment of State of Punjab versus Ramdev Singh. It was decided on 17 December 2003. Here the Supreme Court said that the sexual violence, apart from being a dehumanizing act, is unlawful intrusion on the right of privacy and sanctity of a female. It is a serious blow to her supreme honor and offends her self-esteem and dignity. It degrades, humiliates the victim, and where the victim is helpless, innocent child or a minor, it leaves behind a traumatic experience. A rapist not only causes physical injuries, but more indelibly का मतलब होता है कि मतलब वैसा कोई धब्बा अगर कोई लगा दे जिसको हटाया ना जा सके, something which cannot be removed, but more indelibly leaves a scar on the most cherished possession of a woman, that is her dignity, honor, reputation, and not the least of her chastity. मतलब हर चीज़ का वायलेशन होता है, उसकी डिग्निटी का वायलेशन होता है, वुमेन का ऑनर का, रेपुटेशन का, उसकी चैस्टिटी का, हर चीज़ का वायलेशन होता है, एंड ऑल ड्यू टू द एक्ट्स ऑफ रेपिस्ट. एंड द रेप इज़ नॉट, ये लाइन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये हमेशा आपको लिखनी पड़ेगी एग्जाम में. रेप इज़ नॉट ओनली अ क्राइम अगेंस्ट द पर्सन ऑफ द वुमन, it is the crime against entire society. It destroys the entire psychology of the woman and pushes her into a deep emotional crisis. It is a crime against the basic human rights, and it is violative of the victim's most cherished fundamental rights, namely the right to life, contained in Article 21 of the Constitution. The courts are therefore expected to deal with the cases of sexual crime against women with utmost sensitivity. Such case need to be dealt with sternly and severely. A socially sensitized judge, in our opinion, is a better statutory armor in the case of the crime against women than long clauses of the penal provisions containing complex exceptions and provisos. This is such a true statement that the more you think upon it, the more you realize that this totally makes sense. If we have a socially sensitive judge, he is a better armor against these kinds of heinous acts than the long clauses of the penal statutes. A socially sensitized judge will recognize the situation, will punish the offender promptly, and would make sure that the wheel of justice not only are dispensing justice in quality but also in quantity. Both are important. See, the quality of justice is important, there is no denying that, but the quantity of it is also important, because we know that justice hurried is justice buried. Let me tell you the entire maxim. See, this is the half of the maxim. The entire maxim is justice delayed is justice denied, बट जस्टिस हरीड इज़ जस्टिस बरीड. अगर आप जस्टिस में जल्दबाजी करेंगे तो मतलब आप हो सकता है किसी को सुने ना, हो सकता है कि आप रेलेवेंट एविडेंस ना देख पाएँ एज अ जज, और तब देयर कैन बी अ मिसकैरेज ऑफ जस्टिस. सो दैट इज़ वाई इट इज़ कॉल्ड जस्टिस हरीड इज जस्टिस बरीड. बट सिमिलरली इट इज़ कॉल्ड जस्टिस डिलेड is justice denied. So the quality and the quantity must both be in balance. We cannot prefer one over the other. All right. So now let me tell you. Now let me just clear a preliminary objection that the defense often takes, that there is a delay in lodging an FIR. Often what happens that due to rape, the women are very afraid that how to approach, where to approach, what would the society say, what will their parents say. So this is a very sensitive situation, and I can totally understand this position because I've been a victim of sexual assault myself. I know what kind of shame and anger does it creates within you. So as a woman, and especially in the context of Indian society, the woman is first of all traumatized by the act of rape. Second of all, she's worrying about the position of the society. What will they say? What remarks the society will make upon her character? Then what will her parents say? What will her family members say? These are all just rushing. These questions are rushing inside her head, and she's being psychologically traumatized by, and psychologically she's being anxious by predicting that what would happen in the future. Should I complain, should I tell, or should I not tell? So it is very understandable that in the Indian context there is often delay in lodging rape cases. There is often delay. Often you will find that there is a delay of 15 days, 1 month, 2 months. It doesn't matter. Supreme Court has said that in case of rape, delay in lodging FIR cannot be used as a ritualistic formula for doubting the prosecution case and discard the version of the prosecution solely because on the ground of delay in lodging the FIR. Delay, what it does, has the effect of putting the court in its guard to search if any explanation has been offered for delay, and if offered, whether it is satisfactory or not. If the prosecution fails to satisfactorily explain the delay, and there is possibility of embellishment in a prosecution version on account of such delay, the same would be fatal to the prosecution. However, if delay is explained to the satisfaction of the court, the same cannot itself be the ground for disbelieving or discarding the entire prosecution version. Alright? Supreme Court in the case of Karnal Singh versus State of Madhya Pradesh, it was reported in Supreme Court Cases volume number 5, page number 518. Supreme Court said that merely because the complaint is lodged less than promptly does not raise the inference that the complaint was false. The reluctance to go to the police is because of the society's attitude towards such women. It casts doubt and shame upon her rather than comfort and sympathize with her. Therefore, delay in lodging complaints in such cases does not necessarily indicate that her version is false. So you should clear this concept within your head that mere delay by itself is not fatal to the prosecution. All it does is that it puts the court on guard. The court asks for explanation that, okay, there is a delay in filing the FIR. What is the reason of such delay? Then the prosecution has to give an explanation. And if the prosecution gives a sufficiently good explanation, court will follow it. But let us suppose prosecution is not able to give a complete picture. Even then, that is not by itself. That is not per se a ground to throw off the prosecution case. Similarly, if a woman who has been a victim of rape has not lodged an FIR for, let us suppose, 1 month, in that situation, if the court were to ask that why was there such a long delay in filing the FIR, and the woman were to say that I was afraid of the society, that would be a sufficient explanation. Mere fact that there was a delay will not per se throw off the prosecution case. ठीक है, याद रखिएगा, delay per se does not throw off the prosecution's case. All it does is put the court on guard, and it makes the court inquire about the requisite explanation as to why there was such a delay, in order to make sure that there isn't any embellishment, or there shouldn't be any sort of improvement in the version, or to make sure to guard against that if the case is false or not. These sorts of things goes inside the mind of court, and the court, all the court wants to make sure is that what is the explanation for delay. If the prosecution gives the explanation, that is fine, court will follow it. But in the case of rape, the court gives even wider degree of latitude than it gives in other cases. In rape cases, there is a wider degree of latitude as compared to other cases. So always know that delay in filing a rape case is not a ground to throw out the prosecution case. All it does will put the court in guard to search for any explanation and to see if prosecution is able to give any explanation as to why was there such a prolonged delay in filing the FIR. All right, so that is all. इतनी ही चीज़ करेगा, इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं. 2 लाइन का प्रिंसिपल है. अब इस पर केस लॉ पर बहुत है. भूपिंदर कुमार वर्सेस स्टेट है, आपका करनैल सिंह वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ MP है, गुरमीत सिंह का जजमेंट है, तुलसीदास कानोलकर वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ गोवा का जजमेंट है. पॉइंट यही है, क्योंकि देखिए डिफेंस हमेशा ये पॉइंट उठाता है कि देखिए डिले हुआ फाइलिंग ऑफ एन FIR में, तो ये जो रेप वर्क की जो स्टोरी बनाई जा रही है फॉल्स है और इन्होंने पूरा प्लानिंग से एक वर्जन बनाया रिवेंज लेने के लिए. ऐसी अक्सर स्टोरी बनती है. तो आपको पता है ऐसे कंटेंशन को कैसे तोड़ा जा सकता है. ये बहुत पॉपुलर क्वेश्चन है, एग्जाम में भी आता है, तो याद रखिएगा. अब एक सवाल उठता है कि एब्सेंस ऑन इंजरीज ऑन बॉडी, क्या अगर रेप विक्टिम की बॉडी पे कोई भी इंजरी मार्क्स नहीं है तो क्या रेप का केस साबित नहीं हो पाएगा. लेट अस सपोज देयर इज एन अक्यूज्ड A. ही थ्रेटन्स अ वुमन that he will kill her then and there if she does not have sexual intercourse with him. So the woman submits out of sheer fear. Now there are no injury marks on her, and if the woman were to complain and the prosecution is lodged against the accused person, can the accused take a defense that since there is absence of injury on the body, or can the court make an inference that since there is an absence of injury on the body of the woman, it is not rape? The answer is no. The absence of injuries on the body of the victim would not negate the commission of offense. It is well settled that a prosecutrix complaining of having been a victim of the offense of rape is not an accomplice in crime. ये line याद रखिएगा. A victim of rape is not an accomplice in crime. लिख लीजिएगा कहीं पे. It is a settled law that a prosecutrix complaining of being a victim of an offense is not an accomplice of crime. ठीक है, वो साथी नहीं होती है रेप के क्राइम में कि she is enjoying the act. So she is not an accomplice. ये बहुत पॉपुलर क्वेश्चन है, आता है अक्सर. There is no rule of law that her testimony, that on the woman who is a rape victim and there is absence on injuries on her body, there is no rule of law that her testimony cannot be acted upon without corroboration in material particulars. She stands at a higher pedestal than an injured witness. In the latter case, there is injury on physical form, while in the former it is both physical as well as psychological and emotional. However, if the court of facts, that is the trial court, finds it difficult to accept the version of the prosecutrix on the face value, it may search for evidence, direct or circumstantial, which would lend an assurance to her testimony. Assurance, short of corroboration as understood in the context of accomplice, would do. अब corroboration क्या होता है? अब में से कई लोग सोचेंगे एविडेंस का टॉपिक है. वैसे corroboration का मतलब है कि जैसे मान लीजिए आपने कोई एक बात बोली, बहुत ही लूज सेंस में बता रहा हूँ जिससे आपको ये जो अभी डेफिनेशन मैंने अभी आपको बताई वो समझ में आ जाए. corroboration मीन्स कि जैसे मान लीजिए अगर आप कोई वर्जन बोलें, आप लेट अस सपोज से यू अटर अ स्टेटमेंट दैट A हैज़ रेप्ड B. मैं भी आई विटनेस हूँ, आप भी आई विटनेस थे, मैं भी कोर्ट में आता हूँ, मैं कहता हूँ A हैज़ रेप्ड B. अब आपकी जो टेस्टिमनी थी उसको किसने कॉरोबोरेट किया? मैंने कॉरोबोरेट किया. ये कैसा कॉरोबोरेशन कहलाएगा? ये डायरेक्ट एविडेंस से कॉरोबोरेशन कहलाएगा. अब सर्कमस्टेंशियल एविडेंस से कॉरोबोरेशन क्या होता है? लेट अस सपोज आप अपना एक पूरा बयान देते हैं, उस बयान में आप कई चीज़ें बोलते हैं, एक खास चीज़ें ये होती हैं कि उस वक्त रात थी, 8 बज रहा था और वहाँ पे एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी की कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही थी, ठीक है, पासी में। अब जब कोर्ट आपकी टेस्टिमनी को परखना चाहता है, उसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी डिटरमाइन करना चाहता है, उसका corroboration चाहता है, तो वो क्या करेगा? वो कहेगा कि चेक करिए कि जो इंसिडेंट रेप का हुआ था जिसकी ये गवाही दे रहे हैं, क्या वो शाम के वक्त हुआ था? तो मेडिकल रिपोर्ट्स में आ जाएगा और दूसरे विक्टिम की टेस्टिमनी से आ जाएगा। ठीक है, चलिए एक पॉइंट में आप corroborate हो गए। फिर दूसरी चीज़ ये गौर करेगी कि उस स्पॉट पे जहाँ पे अलेजेड रेप हुआ, क्या उसके पास किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी की कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही थी? पता चला, रिकॉर्ड पे आ गया कि वहाँ पे उस वक्त कांग्रेस पार्टी की कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही थी। तो इन दैट सिचुएशन क्या होगा? योर टेस्टिमनी हैज़ बीन corroborated बाय सर्कमस्टेंशियल एविडेंस। ठीक है, अभी मैं शॉर्ट में बता रहा हूँ, मैं आपको corroboration पे पूरा लेक्चर नहीं दे रहा, मैं सिर्फ आपको एक वर्किंग डेफिनेशन बता रहा हूँ, जिससे आपको मैं जो डेफिनेशन बता रहा हूँ वो समझ में आ जाए। मेन चीज़ आपको किस पे फोकस करना है? देयर इज़ नो रूल ऑफ लॉ दैट द टेस्टिमनी ऑफ अ वुमन कैन नॉट बी एक्टेड अपॉन, अ रेप विक्टिम स्पेशली कैन नॉट बी एक्टेड अपॉन without corroboration in material particulars merely because she has absence of injuries on her body. ये लाइन याद करिएगा जो मैं अभी बोलने जा रहा हूँ. She stands on a higher pedestal than an injured witness. In the case of an injured witness, the injury is only on physical form, while in the case of a rape victim, injury is both psychological and physical. ठीक है? However, having said this general principle, however, if the court of fact finds it difficult to accept the version of the prosecutrix on its face value, it may search for evidence, direct or circumstantial, which would lend assurance to her testimony. Assurance short of corroboration, as understood in the context of accomplice, would do. Now, Supreme Court in the state of Rajasthan versus Noor Khan reported, it was reported in Supreme Court Reporter and said, एब्सेंस ऑफ इंजरीज ऑन द पर्सन्स ऑफ द प्रोसिक्यूटर, पर्सन का मतलब यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट का बॉडी से है, ठीक है, एब्सेंस, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट विक्टोरियन इंग्लिश में बात करता है, ध्यान रखिएगा, एंड लॉयर्स इन जनरल लाइक टू कन्वर्स इन विक्टोरियन इंग्लिश, सो यू नीड टू अपडेट योर इंग्लिश एट अ वेरी हाई लेवल. सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन द स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेज नूर खान said that absence of injuries on the person of prosecutrix has weighed with the High Court for inferring consent on the prosecutrix. Supreme Court is saying ये हाई कोर्ट ने ये देखा कि विक्टिम की बॉडी पे इंजरीज नहीं थी, तो उन्होंने सोच लिया कि विक्टिम ने कंसेंट दी होगी. Supreme Court then said, we are not convinced. We have already noticed that delay in medical examination of the prosecutrix was occasioned by the factum of lodging FIR having been delayed for the reasons which we have already discussed. सुप्रीम कोर्ट से क्योंकि FIR डिले हो गई थी, इसीलिए मेडिकल एग्जामिनेशन भी डिले हुआ, क्योंकि एक बार रेप केस की FIR हो जाती है तो विक्टिम का एग्जामिनेशन होता है CRPC में अंडर 164A बाय अ मेडिकल डॉक्टर, प्रेफरेबली बाय अ गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल, इन अ गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल में होता है, ठीक है. सो सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज सेइंग दैट मेडिकल एग्जामिनेशन इसलिए डिले हुआ क्योंकि FIR खुद डिले हुई. द प्रोसिक्यूट्रिक्स वॉज इन हर टीन्स. The perpetrator of the crime was an able-bodied youth, bustling with energy and determined to fulfill his lust. Armed with a knife in his hand and having succeeded in forcefully removing the victim to a secluded place where there was none around to help the prosecutrix in her defense. The injuries which the prosecutrix suffered or might have suffered in defending herself and offering resistance to the accused were abrasions or bruises which would heal up in the ordinary course of nature within 2 or 3 days of incident. Bruises और abrasions को आप समझते होंगे, खरोचे होती हैं. In absence of visible marks of injuries on the person of the prosecutrix on the date of her medical examination would not necessarily mean that she has not suffered any injuries or that she had offered no resistance at the time of commission of crime. कि मतलब absence of injuries का मतलब ये नहीं कि उसने रेजिस्टेंस नहीं ऑफर किया, क्योंकि इस केस में जो प्रोसिक्यूट्रिक्स थी उसका वर्जन ये था कि मैंने रेजिस्टेंस ऑफर किया था. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा है कि इंजरीज गायब हो गई हैं, इंजरीज हील हो गई, इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी ना कि उसने उस टाइम पे रेजिस्टेंस नहीं ऑफर किया था. सुप्रीम कोर्ट देन सेड एब्सेंस ऑफ इंजरीज ऑन द पर्सन ऑफ प्रोसिक्यूट्रिक्स इज नॉट necessarily an evidence of falsity of the allegation or an evidence of consent of the prosecutrix. It will depend on the fact and circumstances of each case कि ये क्या है. तो absence of injuries by itself कुछ नहीं करता. ठीक है, इस लास्ट लाइन पे गौर करिएगा. Absence of injuries on the person of the prosecutrix is not necessary, and it is not necessarily an evidence of falsity of the allegation or an evidence of consent on the part of the prosecutrix. It will depend on the fact and circumstances of each case as to what is the quality of the evidence that the prosecutrix is given and whether the absence of injuries on her part are fatal or not to the prosecution's case. एक चीज़ बताता हूँ, एग्ज़ाम में आपको क्या लिखना है. एग्ज़ाम में आपको ये चीज़ लिखनी है एज अ रिचुअलिस्टिक फार्मूला दैट एब्सेंस ऑन द इंजरीज ऑन द बॉडीज ऑफ विक्टिम वुड नॉट नेगेट द कमीशन ऑफ ऑफेंस. ठीक है, ये चीज़ आपको याद करनी है. और फिर वो जो मैंने लाइन बताई थी दैट शी स्टैंड्स एट अ हायर पेडेस्टल देन एन इंजर्ड विटनेस, एंड in the case of injured witness the injury is only on the physical body, while in the case of a rape victim the injury is both psychological and physical. ये लाइन आपको लिखनी बहुत ज़रूरी है. और उसके बाद आप ये लिखेंगे, थर्ड पॉइंट पे आप ये लिखेंगे एब्सेंस ऑफ इंजरीज फैक्ट एंड सर्कमस्टेंसेस के हिसाब से डिटरमाइन होंगी और पता चलेगा कि उनका इफेक्ट क्या है. ठीक है, कोई इस पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कोई रूल ऑफ लॉ या प्रिंसिपल नहीं बना के रखा है. सिमिलरली यू विल से fourth point that mere fact that there is absence of injuries on the body of the prosecutrix, it does not mean that the case of the prosecution is entirely false. ठीक है, and neither absence of injuries is the evidence of consent on the part of prosecutrix per se. per se शब्द इंक्लूड करना मत भूलिएगा क्योंकि कंटेक्स्ट में बहुत मैटर करता है ये सारी चीज़ें. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया. आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट, क्योंकि इसमें इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है. एब्सेंस ऑफ इंजरीज का आपको एक इफेक्ट समझना है. अब एक इलस्ट्रेशन आपको दे देता हूँ जस्ट इन केस यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड इट. लेट अस सपोज अ मैन थ्रेटन्स अ वुमन दैट हैव सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स विद मी. द वुमन इज अंडर fear. She agrees to the sexual intercourse. Then when the man leaves, she lodges an FIR against him. Now merely because of the fact that she has no injuries on her body, can it be said that no rape at all has been committed? Merely because there is absence of injury on her body part, can it be said that that the rape victim has given consent for the sexual intercourse? The answer is no. Answer is obviously no. So you need to understand that these things are not cut and rightly answer. They are principles. They will work in accordance with the fact and circumstances of each case. ठीक है, अब absence of injuries generally would not negate the commission of offense of rape. Generally exceptional scenarios में हो सकता है, क्योंकि जब breach of promise to marry होता है ना, उसमें ये सारी चीज़ें थोड़ी मैटर करती हैं. कभी कभी एक जो सबसे पॉपुलर जो आप रेप केसेस देखते हैं ना, आप लोग जनरली ज़्यादातर रेप केसेस को ऐसे सोचते होंगे कि ये इसमें देयर इज़ अ टोटल स्ट्रेंजर रेपिंग अ वुमन. एक्चुअली रियलिटी में ऐसा नहीं है. व्हेन यू लुक एट द डेटा यू वुड रिकॉग्नाइज दैट द बल्क ऑफ इट आर ब्रीच ऑफ प्रॉमिस टू मैरी. मतलब पास्ट में दे आर स्कॉन्ड लवर्स. स्कॉन्ड लवर के बीच में रेप के एलिगेशंस चल रहे हैं. सिमिलरली यू विल फाइंड दैट अ सब्सटैंशियल पोर्शन ऑफ इट ऑल्सो आर कवर्ड विद इन द स्टैट्यूटरी रेप्स डेफिनेशन. जहाँ पे लड़की 18 साल के नीचे है पर उसने कंसेंट दी है, अब उसके चक्कर में भी ये रेप हुआ है. और ऑल्सो नो वन मोर थिंग कि ये पाया गया है बाय द स्टैटिस्टिकल एनालिसिस ऑफ द डेटा दैट ऑलमोस्ट 93% ऑफ द केसेस, 93% ऑफ द रेप केसेस आर एक्चुअली कमिटेड बाय अ पर्सन नोन टू द वुमन. ठीक है, 93% आर कमिटेड by the person known to the woman. तो इस डेटा का ध्यान रखिएगा. अब एक पॉइंट मैं बता दूं रिगार्डिंग prostitutes and regarding the women of easy virtues, क्योंकि एक केस था स्टेट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र वर्सेस मधुकर नारायण मर्देकर, डिसाइडेड ऑन 23 अक्टूबर 1990. अब यहाँ पे एक पॉइंट लिया गया था कि द वुमन वॉज अ prostitute, द वुमन वॉज ऑफ easy virtue, and so if I raped her, so what? she was a woman, she was a person habitual to sex. It doesn't matter if I raped her, and even if I did rape her, then let us suppose you convict me for 376. Under 376, you have to reduce my punishment. Supreme Court categorically said, even a woman of easy virtue is entitled to privacy, and no one can invade her privacy as and when he likes. So also it is not open to any and every person to violate her person as and when he wishes. She is entitled to protect her person. If there is an attempt to violate it against her wish, she is equally entitled to the protection of law. Therefore, merely because she is a woman of easy virtue, her evidence cannot be thrown overboard. At most, the officer called upon to evaluate her evidence would be required to administer caution onto himself before accepting her evidence. So you should know, it doesn't matter to the court. Merely because a woman is of easy virtue or the woman is a prostitute, so what? It doesn't matter to the court. If you commit a crime of rape, you will be punished accordingly as the law lays down. And it does not matter what is the personal character of the woman, that what she does in her private life. It is totally irrelevant to the court. So, merely because a woman is of easy virtue does not give anyone entitlement to rape her. Even a woman of easy virtue is entitled to privacy, and no one can invade her privacy and as and when he likes. It is not open to any and every person to violate her person when and so he wishes. She is entitled to protect her person, and the law will afford her equal protection. ठीक है, तो ये कुछ एक केस मुझे बताना था इस पॉइंट पे. आई होप दैट दिस इज़ क्लियर. अब मैं आपको कुछ क्लासिक केसेस बता देता हूँ. एक है रेज वर्सेस विलियम. In this case, what happened? There was this teacher. Sorry, the case is King versus William. In this war, the accused person was engaged to give lessons in singing and voice production to the girl of 16 years of age. He was a music teacher of that girl, and he had sexual intercourse with her under the pretense that her breathing was not quite right, and he had to perform an operation to enable her to produce her voice properly. The girl submitted to what was done under the belief that was willfully and fraudulently induced by the accused, that she was being medically and surgically treated by the accused, and not with any intention that he is about to have sexual intercourse with her. In that situation, he was held guilty of rape. Here, the woman has submitted under a false pretense that this music teacher gave to the girl, that her voice is not quite right and he is about to perform a surgical operation, and in the guise of that surgical operation he actually committed rape on her. In that situation, House of Lords said, the King's Bench, that merely because the woman submitted to the act of the teacher doesn't mean that she consented to that act, because consent has been obtained by misconception of fact, so it stands vitiated. So in law, you need to note it down. Submission does not mean consent. Write it down. Now there is also this case of Reg versus William. In this the House of Lords said that if a girl does not resist an intercourse in consequence of misapprehension, this will not amount to consent on her part. It was held that where a medical man to whom a girl of 14 years of age was sent for professional advice, he had criminal connection with her, she making no resistance from a bona fide belief that he was treating her medically, he could be convicted for rape. Now you may understand what has happened here. The medical man was actually raping her, and the woman was the child was under a false pretense that he was actually treating her. So in this situation also, the court said that merely because the girl submitted does not mean she gave consent. Similarly, in the case of Queen versus Flattery, where the accused professed to give medical advice for money, a girl of 19 consulted him with respect to illness from which she was suffering, and he advised that a surgical operation should be performed, and under pretense of performing it, had carnal intercourse with her. It was held that he was guilty of rape. Now you people should open section 90 of IPC. It says consent known to be given under a fear or misconception. What does it say? A consent is not such a consent as is intended by any section of this code. IPC में कोई भी section हो वो consent नहीं मानेगा if the consent is given by a person under a fear of injury, mark कर लीजिए, or under a misconception of fact, mark कर लीजिए, and if the person doing the act knows or has reason to believe that the consent was given in the consequence of such fear or misconception. तो देखिए ये जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है जहाँ तक लिखा है और अंडर मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट, ये विक्टिम सेंट्रिक है, ये विक्टिम की मेंटल स्टेट की बात कर रहा है. बट ये जो लैटर पार्ट है ना, एंड इफ द पर्सन डूइंग द एक्ट knows or has reason to believe that the consent was given and the consequence of fear or misconception, ये accused centric है. ये accused के state of mind की बात कर रहा है कि जो let us suppose in context of rape, if the person is committing the act of rape, he knows or has a reason to believe that the consent was given in consequence of fear or misconception, then that would not amount to consent. ठीक है, तो ये जो दो पार्ट है ना, इस पे ध्यान दीजिएगा. फियर ऑफ इंजरी, इंजरी समझते होंगे, बॉडी माइंड रेपुटेशन प्रॉपर्टी. सिर्फ बॉडीली इंजरी नहीं आती है, बॉडी माइंड रेपुटेशन प्रॉपर्टी, ऑल ऑफ इट इज कवर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 90. एंड देन देयर इज मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट, धोखा देके. तो अभी जो मैंने 3 केसेस आपको बताए ये मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट की कैटेगरी में आते हैं. अभी जो मैंने इलस्ट्रेशन आपको चाकू दिखा के बताए, या जिसमें कि अक्यूज चाकू दिखाता है, एक में रिवॉल्वर दिखाता है, ये सारे ना वो है फियर ऑफ इंजरी की कैटेगरी में आता है. लेकिन वो वाले फैक्ट्स जो अभी मैंने बताए जहाँ पे किंग वर्सेस विलियम, रेज वर्सेस विलियम और क्वीन वर्सेस फ्लैटरी का केस था, वो मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट से लेके थे. अभी हम लोग आएंगे ब्रीच ऑफ प्रॉमिस टू मैरी पे, तो ये मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट वाले पे बहुत इलेबोरेशन करना है. इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड इट, क्योंकि सबसे कॉम्प्लेक्स पार्ट is not actually understanding rape. It is actually understanding when breach of promise to marry becomes rape. That is the complex part. वो bulk है rape cases का. That is the bulk. और उसी की वजह से Delhi is called the rape capital of India. If you actually analyze the data, you would realize that the majority of them are breach of promise to marry, where the breach of promise to marry has been given a color of rape. I have to give a detailed lecture on that topic, so I will give that. Right now you just focus on this part. अब जब भी आप consent पढ़ेंगे 375 में, in fact throughout the IPC, especially in the context of 375, अब section 90 का ज़रूर ध्यान रखेंगे. और आंसर राइटिंग में बेयर एक्ट लिख रहे हैं, तो जब भी कंसेंट के बारे में लिख रहे हैं तो सेक्शन 90 का मेंशन करना मस्ट है. इसके बिना आंसर कंप्लीट नहीं हो पाएगा. यू हैव टू मेंशन सेक्शन 90. ठीक है. सो लेट मी एक्सप्लेन व्हाट डज द फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ सेक्शन 90 says. The first part says that if the consent is given by a person under a fear of injury or misconception of fact, this is victim centric. All right, this is being spoken about the victim state of mind. Here a simple principle is this, that if the consent is given under a fear of injury or misconception of fact, it is not at all a consent. ठीक है, it is not at all a consent. Consent मानी नहीं जा सकती. The crucial expression in section 375, which defines rape as against her will, seems to connote that the offending act was despite the resistance and opposition of woman. Will का मतलब है कि there was an resistance and opposition. रेजिस्ट किया और अपोज किया और उसके बाद भी रेप कमिट हुआ, तो विल है, वो तो हाईएस्ट एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ कंसेंट है. दैट इज द हाईएस्ट एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ कंसेंट. बट व्हेन यू कम टू द लेवल ऑफ कंसेंट जनरली, then it simply means that any consent that is not given under a fear of injury or under a misconception of fact. अब सेक्शन 90 के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टेट ऑफ हिमाचल प्रदेश वर्सेस मंगेराम में बहुत कैटेगोरिकली एक बात बोली थी कि सबमिशन ऑफ द बॉडी अंडर द फियर ऑफ टेरर कैन नॉट बी कंस्ट्रूड एज कंसेंटेड सेक्सुअल एक्ट. कंसेंट for the purpose of section 375 requires voluntary participation, not only after the exercise of intelligence based on knowledge of the significance and a moral quality of the act, but after having fully exercised the choice between the resistance and assent. Whether there was consent or not is ascertained only on the careful study of the relevant circumstances of each cases. तो कंसेंट क्या होता है फिर? क्वेश्चन ऑफ फैक्ट कहलाएगा, ठीक है. द कंसेंट बिकम्स क्वेश्चन ऑफ फैक्ट. ये फैक्ट और सर्कमस्टेंसेस में पता चलता है. तो क्या डेफिनेशन दी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने? कंसेंट फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ सेक्शन 375 रिक्वायर्स वॉलंटरी पार्टिसिपेशन not only after the exercise of intelligence based on knowledge of the significance and moral quality of the act, but after having exercised the choice between resistance and assent. तो मतलब it is weighing of the entire scenario, the moral quality, the intelligence quality, the knowledge and the significance of the act that is about to be indulged into. ये सारे parameters को weigh करने के बाद if a person assents, then that can be said to be a consent. अगर वही consent fear या terror में दी गई है या under submission दी गई है तो that does not amount to consent. ठीक है, submission ध्यान रखिएगा मैं किस context में यूज़ कर रहा हूँ. ये catch words होते हैं, ठीक है. The submission is not consent for the purpose of IPC. ये catch word की तरह मैंने बोला है. You can also use these kinds of expression. फिर इसको समझाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, ठीक है. तो आप उसके लिए स्टेट ऑफ हिमाचल प्रदेश वर्सेस मंगेराम की डेफिनेशन यूज़ कर सकते हैं. दैट इज़ अ वेरी नाइस डेफिनेशन. नाउ वी कम टू अनदर जजमेंट ऑन द टॉपिक ऑफ कंसेंट. ये है उदय वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका. ये अभी जब ब्रीच ऑफ द प्रॉमिस टू मैरिज पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें बड़ा ये रेलेवेंस रखता है. अब इसमें कंसेंट को भी बड़े अच्छे से डिफाइन किया गया. बोला कंसेंट सपोजेज 3 थिंग्स: फिजिकल पावर टू एक्ट, अ मेंटल पावर of acting and a free and serious use of them. बड़ी सिंपल बट वेरी इफेक्टिव. कि इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि एक तो फिजिकल पावर ऑफ एक्टिंग है कि द पर्सन इज कॉन्शियसली मूविंग हिज फिजिकल बॉडी टुवर्ड्स द गोल ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर ऑब्जेक्ट. सेकेंडली देयर इज अ मेंटल पावर ऑफ एक्टिंग. ऑफ कोर्स उस फिजिकल एक्ट के पीछे एक मेंटल एसेंट है. और तीसरा है फ्री एंड सीरियस यूज ऑफ देम. बड़े डिलिब्रेशन के साथ यूज़ करना. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उदय वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका में कंसेंट के एलिमेंट बताए. फिर बोला वी आर इंक्लाइंड टू अग्री विद दिस व्यू दैट देयर इज नो स्ट्रेट जैकेट फॉर्मूला फॉर डिटरमाइनिंग वेदर द कंसेंट वॉज गिवन टू द प्रोसिक्यूट्रिक्स टू सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स इज वॉलंटरली और वेदर इट इज गिवन अंडर मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट. In ultimate analysis, the test laid down by the court provides is the best guidance to the judicial mind while considering the question of consent. But the court must in each case consider the evidence before it. अब देखिए ध्यान दीजिएगा, कह रहा है कि कैसे पता करेंगे कि कंसेंट दी है या नहीं दी है. देखिए मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट और इंजरी में हुआ तो बहुत स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है कि वो कंसेंट नहीं होगी. लेकिन जब भी एलिगेशंस लगते हैं रेप के तो उसमें ज़रूरी थोड़ी ना है कि प्रोसिक्यूटर्स बता दे कि नहीं कंसेंट थी. अगर उसने बता दिया कि कंसेंट थी सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स की तो रेप का ऑफेंस प्रूव नहीं हो पाएगा. उल्टा वुमन प्रोसिक्यूट हो जाएगी परजरी के लिए. तो ऑफ कोर्स द प्रोसिक्यूटर्स विल नॉट टेल दैट. तो हाउ एज अ जज यू विल डिटरमाइन कि कंसेंट थी या नहीं. इसके लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट बोलता है कि इन ईच केस कंसिडर द एविडेंस बिफोर इट. क्या एविडेंस है, सराउंडिंग सर्कमस्टेंसेस किस तरफ इशारा करते हैं, बिफोर रीचिंग अ कंक्लूजन. आप ये ज़रूर देखें कि एविडेंस और सराउंडिंग सर्कमस्टेंसेस इस लेवल के हों जो इंडिकेट कर पाएँ इन वन वे और द अदर दैट आइदर कंसेंट वॉज देयर और आइदर द कंसेंट वॉज नॉट देयर, बिकॉज ईच केस हैज़ इट्स ओन peculiar facts which may have the bearing on the question whether the consent was voluntarily or was given under a misconception of fact. It must also weigh the evidence keeping in view the fact that burden is on the prosecution to prove each and every ingredient of the offense, absence of consent being one of them. burden of proof किस पे साबित करना, ये prosecution पे है. It is not on the accused to prove the offense or to prove his innocence. The burden of proof to prove the offense is upon the prosecution. That is the cardinal rule of criminal jurisprudence. विल की भी डेफिनेशन ध्यान में रखिएगा कि विल को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने प्रदीप कुमार वर्मा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ बिहार में ऐसे डिफाइन किया है कि जब कोई एक्ट अगेंस्ट हर विल कही जा सकती है, ये कनोट करता है कि द ऑफेंडिंग एक्ट वॉज कमिटेड डिस्पाइट द रेजिस्टेंस एंड ऑपोजिशन ऑफ वुमेन. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उसको रेजिस्टेंस एंड ऑपोजिशन ऑफ वुमेन से इक्वेट किया है. ठीक है, कंसेंट इज समथिंग मच मोर नुआंस्ड. Will में there is resistance, will में there is opposition. It could be said that will is the highest expression of consent, the highest. Okay, it could be said that. But I would rather suggest to you that always use the definition that has been laid down in Pradeep Kumar Verma versus State of Bihar. Then Supreme Court said that IPC does not define consent in positive terms, but what cannot be regarded as consent is explained by section 90, which reads that the consent given under a fear of injury or under a misconception of fact is not a consent at all. तो ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा है. That is what is explained in the first part. There are two grounds specified in section 90 which are analogous to coercion and mistake of fact, which are familiar grounds that can vitiate a transaction under the jurisprudence of our country as well as other countries. The factors set out in the first part of section 90 are from the point of view of the victim, and second part are from the point of view of the accused. मैं आपको पहले ही बता चुका हूँ. It envisages that the accused has knowledge or reason to believe that the consent was given by the victim in the consequence of fear of injury or misconception of fact. The second part lays emphasis on the knowledge or reasonable belief of the person who obtains the tainted consent. Tainted consent है ये, जब फियर ऑफ इंजरी में लिया जाता है तो उसको टेंटेड कंसेंट भी कहा जाता है. अब मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट में कंसेंट ली गई तो वो भी टेंटेड कंसेंट कहलाएगी. देन सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेज द रिक्वायरमेंट्स ऑफ बोथ पार्ट्स शुड बी क्यूमुलेटिवली बी सेटिस्फाइड. इन अदर वर्ड्स, कोर्ट हैज़ टू सी वेदर द पर्सन गिविंग कंसेंट हैज़ गिवन इट अंडर मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट, एंड द कोर्ट शुड ऑल्सो बी सेटिस्फाइड दैट द पर्सन डूइंग द एक्ट, दैट इज द alleged offender, is conscious of the fact that the consent has been given under fear or misconception. ये चीज़ें दोनों जो सेक्शन 90 में दोनों कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई होना चाहिए, यही सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है. दैट हैज़ टू बी प्रूव्ड क्यूमुलेटिवली. अच्छा, अब ये जो पोजीशन ऑफ लॉ है ये प्रदीप कुमार वर्मा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ बिहार, रिपोर्टेड इन AIR 2007 सुप्रीम कोर्ट 3059, एंड इट हैज़ बीन रिकॉग्नाइज्ड बाय न्यूमरस जजमेंट्स. ठीक है, तो एज फार एज कंसेंट इज कंसर्न्ड ये था. अब आप ब्रॉडली ना प्रिंसिपल समझ गए हैं रेप के, सेक्शन समझ लिया, कंसेंट का मैटर समझ लिया, विल क्या होती है वो समझ लिया, 7th क्लॉज तक समझ लिया. अब एक केस है दिल्ली डोमेस्टिक वर्किंग वुमेन वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. ये रिएटरेट हुआ था दिलीप वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ मध्य प्रदेश, दैट वाज डिसाइडेड ऑन 16th April 2013. In this, Supreme Court found that in the cases of rape, the investigative agency as well as subordinate courts sometimes adopt a very indifferent attitudes towards the prosecutrix, and therefore Supreme Court issued following directions in order to render assistance to the victims of rape. First, अच्छा इसमें 10 गाइडलाइंस हैं. ठीक है, 8 गाइडलाइंस हैं. इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि द कंप्लेंट्स ऑफ सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट केसेस शुड बी प्रोवाइडेड विद लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेशन. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट गाइडलाइन है. उनको लीगल काउंसलिंग, मेडिकल काउंसलिंग, साइकोलॉजिकल काउंसलिंग और लीगल हेल्प एक ही साथ प्रोवाइड करनी चाहिए. इट इज़ वेरी एसेंशियल. It is essential that the role of the victim's advocate would not only be to explain to the victim the nature of the proceedings, to prepare her for the case, but to also assist her in police station and in court, and to provide her with guidance as to how she might obtain the help of different nature from other agencies. Second, legal assistance will have to be provided at the police stations, since the victim of sexual assault might very well be in distress state upon the arrival at the police station. The guidance and support of a lawyer at this stage and while she was being questioned would be of great assistance. Third guideline, police should be under a duty to inform the victim of her rights to representation बिफोर एनी क्वेश्चंस आर आस्क्ड ऑफ हर, विक्टिम से कोई भी सवाल पूछने से पहले आप पुलिस की ड्यूटी बनती है कि उसकी विक्टिम को इन्फॉर्म करें दैट शी हैज़ अ राइट ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेशन फ्रॉम अ लॉयर. उसके बाद a list of advocates willing to act in these cases should be kept at police station for victims who did not have a particular lawyer in mind or whose own lawyer was unavailable. तो एक लिस्ट ऑफ एडवोकेट्स वहाँ पे अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए जो पुलिस स्टेशन भी रखेंगे. ये मान लीजिए अगर विक्टिम के पास खुद का लॉयर नहीं है या उसका लॉयर अगर है तो वो अवेलेबल नहीं है. फिफ्थ है, एडवोकेट शुड बी अपॉइंटेड बाय द कोर्ट अपॉन एप्लीकेशन बाय द पुलिस एट द अर्लीस्ट कन्वीनियंट मोमेंट. But in order to ensure that victims were questioned without undue delay, advocates would be authorized to act at the police station before the leave of the court was sought for or obtained. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला जनरली आपको कोर्ट की परमिशन लेनी है, ट्रायल कोर्ट की, और आपको उसको एप्लीकेशन देनी है. लेकिन कभी कभी हो सकता है कि आपको वुमेन का स्टेटमेंट लेना है और उसके चक्कर में हो सकता है आप गाइडलाइंस का वायलेशन कर दें. तो उसके पर्पज से सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि अगर मान लीजिए कंसेंट लेने में डिले लगेगा तो आप ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि कोई भी एडवोकेट जिसकी लिस्ट है उसको बुला के वुमेन को रिप्रेजेंट करने का मौका दें या वुमेन को उसके राइट से अवगत कराएं एंड अलाउ हर द रिप्रेजेंटेशन बाय द एडवोकेट एज whose नेम इज इंक्लूडेड इन द लिस्ट एंड अलाउ द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द विक्टिम. फिर सिक्स्थ गाइडलाइन कहती है इन ऑल रेप ट्रायल्स एनोनिमिटी ऑफ द विक्टिम मस्ट बी मेंटेन्ड एज फार एज नेसेसरी. आपको एक चीज़ बता दें, रेप विक्टिम का नाम नहीं लिया जा सकता बिकॉज इट इज़ अ क्राइम पनिशेबल अंडर सेक्शन 228A ऑफ द IPC. ये नोट डाउन कर लीजिए, यू कैन नॉट डिस्क्लोज द नेम ऑफ अ रेप विक्टिम. इफ़ यू डू दैट इज़ अ क्राइम पनिशेबल अंडर 228A ऑफ द IPC. हाल ही में दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने 50 लाख का फाइन लगाया मीडिया हाउसेस पे इस बात को लेके, और अब तो इसमें 2 साल की जेल और फाइन दोनों है. ऑलराइट, सो 228A इज़ अ वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट प्रोविजन एंड मस्ट बी scrupulously बी ऑब्जर्व्ड. देन सेवेंथ गाइडलाइन इज it is necessary having regard to the directive principles contained in Article 38 Clause 1 of the Constitution of India to set up a criminal injuries compensation board regarding rape victims. अब आपको याद होगा कि लक्ष्मी में क्या बात की गई थी, लक्ष्मी वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया में क्रिमिनल इंजरीज कंपनसेशन बोर्ड को लेके. ये जो बोर्ड है ना, ये लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटीज एक्ट ही ये बोर्ड बन चुकी हैं अब. ठीक है, दिस कंसेप्ट हैज़ बीन मर्ज्ड विद स्टेट एंड डिस्ट्रिक्ट लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी. ठीक है, फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेड इट इज़ बिकॉज दे शुड बी कंपनसेटेड बिकॉज रेप विक्टिम्स इंकर सब्सटैंशियल फाइनेंशियल लॉस. Some, for example, are too traumatized to continue in employment. Then eighth guideline was compensation for the victim shall be awarded by the court on conviction of the offender and also by the criminal injuries compensation board, जो अब है district legal service authority और state legal service authority, whether or not the conviction has taken place. तो देखिए, कोर्ट ने बोला है कि अगर ऑफेंडर कन्विक्ट हो गया तो ऑफेंडर को तो देना ही है, लेकिन लेट अस सपोज ऑफेंडर कन्विक्ट नहीं हुआ तब भी रेप विक्टिम को कंपनसेशन दिया जाएगा वेदर और नॉट कन्विक्शन हैज़ टेकन प्लेस. लेट अस सपोज अक्विटल हो गया तब भी कोर्ट वो कंपनसेशन ऑर्डर करेगा, पर उस केस में ऑफेंडर से नहीं, वो क्रिमिनल इंजरीज कंपनसेशन बोर्ड से करेगा. दिस क्रिमिनल इंजरीज कंपनसेशन बोर्ड इज नाउ डिस्ट्रिक्ट लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी और स्टेट लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटी. The board will take into account of pain, suffering, shock as well as loss of earnings due to pregnancy and the expense of childbirth if this occurred as a result of rape. अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 8 गाइडलाइंस दी और साथ में बोल दिया undoubtedly any direction issued by this court is binding on all courts and civil authorities within the territory of India. Of course, you can refer to Article 141 and Article 144 of the Constitution on this point. अब साथ ही साथ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसके एडिशन में बोला इट इज़ एन ऑब्लिगेशन ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ स्टेट अथॉरिटीज़ एंड पर्टिकुलरली द DGP एंड होम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ द स्टेट टू इशू प्रॉपर गाइडलाइंस एंड इंस्ट्रक्शन to the other authorities as to how to deal with rape cases and what kind of treatment is to be given to the prosecutrix as a victim of sexual assault. And it requires a totally different kind of treatment, not only from the society but also from the state authorities. Certain care has to be taken by the doctors who medically examine the rape victim. The rape victim should generally be examined by a female doctor. Simultaneously, she should also be provided some psychiatric help.
The medical report should be prepared expeditiously, and the doctor should examine the victim of rape thoroughly and give his or her opinion with all possible angles. That opinion regarding rape, age, and the number of teeth, secondary character, injury marks, radiological test, etc. etc. ये मेंशन करके रखा है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने. तो ये गाइडलाइंस इंपॉर्टेंट थी. अब कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, ये गाइडलाइंस एज इट इज़ पूछ ली जाती हैं कभी कभी, लेकिन ये थोड़े हाई फाई स्टेट्स में पूछी जाती हैं. जनरली आपको कंसेंट के पॉइंट से अवेयर रहना है. जनरली आपको रेप के बेयर एक्ट की डेफिनेशन से अवेयर होना है, और अभी तक इस लेक्चर में मैंने जितनी चीज़ें बताई उनसे अवेयर रहना है. अब एक चीज़ और देखिए, 2 फिंगर टेस्ट अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल होता है, मैं आपको बता ही चुका हूँ. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लीलू एलियास राजेश वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ हरियाणा में बताया था, और अभी हाल ही में स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात वर्सेस रमेश चंद्र राम भाई पंचाल में भी यही बात बोली गई है कि 2 फिंगर टेस्ट इज अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बिकॉज it violates the rights of the victims of sexual assault to privacy, physical and mental integrity and dignity. ये बात हाई कोर्ट ने बोली है. यू कैन रेफर इट, ये मैं आपको प्रोवाइड किए दे रहा हूँ. अब एक अटेम्प्ट टू रेप के लिए एक बात बताता हूँ. अब मैंने आपको 354 में एक बॉर्डर लाइन बताई थी कि 354 अटेम्प्ट टू रेप के बीच में एक बहुत ही थिन लाइन है. अब आपने एक चीज़ देखी होगी कि ज़्यादातर उसमें जो केसेस थे उसमें कई पॉइंट पे उन फैक्टर सर्कमस्टेंसेस को कोर्ट देखते हुए बोल रहा था कि अक्यूज नेकेड नहीं हुआ था, तो वो अटेम्प्ट टू रेप नहीं कहलाएगा, वो 354 में जाएगा. एक चीज़ याद रखिए, वो जो पॉइंट्स आप सुन रहे थे ना, वो उनके फैक्टर सर्कमस्टेंसेस में पेक्यूलियर थे, वो इलस्ट्रेटिव केसेस थे. अभी जैसे एक इलस्ट्रेशन मैं आपको दूंगा जिसमें जो अक्यूज्ड है, रेप अक्यूज्ड, अटेम्प्ट टू रेप अक्यूज है, वो नेकेड नहीं हुआ था, इवन देन ही वॉज पनिश्ड. अच्छा, ये कौन सा केस है? ये है चैतूलाल वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ उत्तराखंड, क्रिमिनल अपील नंबर 2127 ऑफ 2009. हाल ही में डिसाइड हुआ, आई थिंक दिस ईयर हुआ है या पिछले साल हुआ है. तो यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अटेम्प्ट टू रेप के लिए एक आदमी को पनिश किया. अच्छा, इस केस में क्या साबित हो गया था? इस केस में ये साबित हुआ था कि द एक्यूज्ड पाउंस्ड अपॉन द विक्टिम, सैट अपॉन हर, lifted her petticoat, and while she protested against his advancement and wept, one of the witness was her neighbor. When he reached the spot, hearing the commotion, accused had run away. The High Court upheld the conviction recorded by trial court for attempt to rape. And then Supreme Court said, ये अपील गई सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास. अब ये चैतूलाल थे, इन्होंने वही सारे जजमेंट लगाने की कोशिश की जिसमें आदमी नेकेड नहीं हुआ था तो उसको अटेम्प्ट टू रेप की सज़ा नहीं मिली. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा वो उनके फैक्टर सर्कमस्टेंसेस के हिसाब से थे और टोटलिटी में देखे गए थे. वो कोर्ट कभी सिंगल फैक्ट को देख के जजमेंट नहीं दे देता. वहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी जो एक चेन में काम कर रही थी. उन्हीं में से एक चेन ऑफ सर्कमस्टेंसेस में एक लिंक ये था कि वो नेकेड नहीं हुआ. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा ये कोई रूल ऑफ लॉ नहीं है कि जहाँ पे अक्यूज्ड नेकेड नहीं हुआ है तो उसे अटेम्प्ट टू रेप का कन्विक्शन ही नहीं हो सकता. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस केस में इनको अटेम्प्ट टू रेप के लिए कन्विक्ट कर दिया था और बोला था कि आपको हर केस के फैक्ट डिस्टिंग्विश करके देखने होंगे. एंड सेड दैट एक्शन ऑफ द अक्यूज्ड appellant in forcibly entering the house of the complainant victim in the drunken state and using criminal force to lift her petticoat despite repeated resistance and then taking her to a secluded place, had it not had been the intervention of neighbor, the accused would have succeeded in executing his criminal design. The conduct of the accused in present case is the indicative of definite intention to commit the offence, and hence conviction for attempt to rape follows. तो देखिए, यही बात मैंने पिछली बार भी आपको फोकस करवाया था कि फैक्टर सर्कमस्टेंसेस ऐसे होने चाहिए कि वो कोर्ट को दिखा सके कि द अक्यूज्ड हैड अ डेफिनेट इंटेंशन टू कमिट द ऑफेंस, कि वो नॉट विथस्टैंडिंग एनीथिंग वांटेड टू फुलफिल हिज लस्ट. ये एक बार कोर्ट ने किसी भी सर्कमस्टेंस से देख लिया तो इट वुड कन्विक्ट अ पर्सन फॉर अटेम्प्ट टू रेप. तो वहाँ पे जो 354 से ऑफेंस एग्रीवेट होकर अटेम्प्ट टू रेप में बदल जाएगा. बट ऑफ कोर्स इट अगेन डिपेंड्स ऑन फैक्ट एंड सर्कमस्टेंसेस ऑफ ईच केस. मैंने सोचा कि आपको बताना ज़रूरी है. अब एक केस है, इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने सू मोटो कॉग्निजेंस ली थी. जिसमें रेप केसेस में बड़ा डिले हो रहा था। फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कई क्वेश्चन पूछे थे कि पुलिस को इन्वेस्टिगेशन में कितना टाइम हो रहा है। सारे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को ऑर्डर दिया था कि डेटा भेजिए, डेटा आया भी था। फिर पता किया कि 161 में कितने रेप विक्टिम्स के स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्ड हो रहे हैं, ट्रायल में कितना टाइम लग रहा है, कितना एक्सपीडिशियस ट्रायल चल रहा है, कितने केसेस में चार्जशीट अभी तक फाइल नहीं हुई है, मैजिस्ट्रेट कोर्ट्स कितने सालों से रेप केस देख रहे हैं, मतलब कितने केस डिस्पोज हुए हैं, उनका डेटा। तो ये हाई कोर्ट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट दोनों को डायरेक्शन दिया था। अब ये जो केस है ये कोई आपसे पूछेगा नहीं, प्रैक्टिकली मैंने आपके इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए बता दिया है। इस केस में एमिकस क्यूरे सिद्धार्थ लूथरा थे और प्रॉपरली सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑफेंसेस अगेंस्ट वुमेन पे काफ़ी फोकस किया था इस केस में। 18 दिसंबर 2019 को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने सुमोटो कॉग्निजेंस ली थी इन सारी इश्यूज़ को लेके। तो आप चाहें तो इसे पढ़ सकते हैं, एग्ज़ाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है। इनफैक्ट प्रैक्टिस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी मैं कहूँगा उतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, पर एकेडमिक्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। और एज आई ऑलवेज से, इन्फॉर्मेशन कभी चोट नहीं पहुँचाती। सो इफ़ यू वांट टू नो दैट यू कैन ऑलवेज नो दैट, ठीक है। अब फॉर टुडे दिस मच विल सफाइस। कल हम लोग करेंगे ब्रीच ऑफ प्रॉमिस टू मैरी एंड वी विल अंडरस्टैंड कि उसके कंटेक्स्ट में क्या चल रहा है। फिर टेस्टिमनी देखेंगे कि क्या सोल टेस्टिमनी ऑफ रेप विक्टिम पे कन्विक्शन हो सकता है। शॉर्ट आंसर है हाँ, पर बहुत सारे केसेस बताऊंगा जहाँ पे मैं बताऊंगा कि जहाँ पे विक्टिम की टेस्टिमनी थोड़ी करॉबरेट नहीं हो पाई थी, इट सफर्ड फ्रॉम मटेरियल एरर्स एक्सेट्रा। तो पूरी पोजीशन आपको बताना ज़रूरी है सो दैट यू कैन प्रॉपरली अप्रिशिएट कि क्या चल रहा है, ठीक है। प्रैक्टिस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी और एग्जाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी आपको पूरी पोजीशन जानना बहुत ज़रूरी होता है। सो दैट इज इट फॉर टुडे, आई विल मीट यू टुमारो।